So this is actually people don't really know about this and people don't talk about this too much. If you have kids and one of the parents, whether it be baby mama, wife, husband, whatever, your partner passes away, your kids are entitled to social security benefits.
Have you been wondering how to get your money right? Stressing every month with never-ending list of financial demands? Or are you just tired of not knowing where all your money is going? Did you know that Wallet Coach has a solution? Wallet Coach offers one-to-one coaching sessions to get your money back into shape. Wallet Coach was formed to help everyday people get financially secure and free by teaching a 4-step approach to money management. Our favorite testimony is one client who saved up $1,000 as an emergency fund within 6 months while only making $1,800 a month. If you are curious how Wallet Coach can help you in similar ways, sign up for a free 15-minute consultation on our website, thewalletcoach.com. That's thewalletcoach.com. Or text the word coach to 470-606-8949 to get a link to schedule. Now back to the show. Welcome everyone to Wallet Talks Podcast, where we are here exploring ways to have meaningful and less awkward conversations about money while gaining tips to help our money go further. I am your host, Jason Alexander, and this is episode number 6. This week we have a guest from the New York area that shares how he was able to overcome the challenges of being a social worker in the pandemic, but still achieving some major financial milestones. This episode is full of so many gems, so we're going to get right into it. Here is our topic of the day: overcoming adversities with Baz Marana. Hey, Baz.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good to see you, man. How you feeling these days?
I'm doing great. Just taking one day at a time. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Listen, we're still in the pandemic, so every
Yes,
day,
absolutely.
every day we gotta find a silver lining.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Right, we're still in the pandemic, people. Mask up, or get vaccinated. Anyway, I have to go on a tangent. So, Baz, tell us a little bit about where you come from. What do you do from the day to day in your line of work?
Yeah, sure. So my full name is Basiliso. Everybody calls me Bass for short. Originally born and raised in the Bronx, New York. Literally used to live walking distance from Yankee Stadium. I grew up on the same block where they filmed the Joker movie, and like literally
Ooh,
like less than a 2-minute walk from the Joker stairs, as they call it. So
great scene,
I'm
by the way.
yeah. He needed an Oscar just dancing on those stairs. Those stairs are tricky. um, so I moved to Delaware during the middle of the pandemic. 2020 was actually a goal of mine to move. I just got tired of New York City and just the politicians ruining the great state of New York and the great city of New York. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Just I'm 42, so I was like, literally, like I can't do this anymore. It's just everything just started bothering me. So I was like, I actually been doing my homework on Delaware for like since like 2017. It's like coming down here
Yeah.
like once a year, checking out all this new construction that they build. Like, oh, this is nice, and then like the school district is supposedly top notch. So like fiance is like, let's do this, and like we did it and did our homework in terms of like getting our tax papers together, just everything that you need in order to get pre-approved, and then it just happened so fast. Delaware has been a hot market for a long time. It literally within weeks, like just got our offer was approved, and like literally like a month, 2 months later, signed a contract and been here almost a full year, coming up in
Wow.
February. So
Wow. That sounds familiar to like my story where it sounded like you said you purchased a home in the
yes,
middle of the
purchase home.
pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah. So that sounds like a little bit of our story. We purchased a home right before, like literally when everything shut down on like March 17th. We closed on March 15th. And
Wow.
what that did was all of our furniture that we had purchased was like super delayed for like 6 months. So we're like,
Oh my God.
no kitchen table, no couch, there's, folding chairs and stuff like that. So
I don't feel as bad now because I went like a few weeks without no furniture and,
yeah, no, no,
doing Zoom calls like on my steps for work.
right. Oh my gosh. But you persevere so much. Like I was reading a story, you have a article out, Southside Miami, that highlights a little bit of your story, which is amazing. I want you to get into that. But tell me, you persevere because you are a social worker, which
Yes.
is, I mean, describe how that is like the life of a social worker.
Well, I've been in January 2022 makes 20 years in the social work field. I've been 10 years, actually more than like 12 years postmasters. I actually got my social work license in Delaware this past May 2021, and also I'm a school certified school social worker here in the state of Delaware. That also happened right after I got licensed here in
Okay.
2021. So I'm currently work as a school social worker in Dover, Delaware, in an elementary school. It's definitely been an experience. I primarily work kindergarten through fourth grade. Really work closer with the kindergarteners and the first graders.
Mhm.
They coming in and because of the pandemic, some of them may not have the opportunity of going to daycare, or if they did, it was like sporadic. These first graders, we call them, are like kindergartners part two, because they kind of spent their kindergarten year remotely for the most part until like
Right.
maybe like March, April of this past year, doing the what we call like the hybrid model, go like 2 days a week and then up to 4 days a week. So literally like no real structured school training, and here they come. We try to give them the structure, and some of them, especially our kindergartens, are just wilding out and leaving
Yeah.
class. Not only leaving class, leaving the school building, and
Wait, I gotta
literally
stop
got
you.
like check.
Wait, Baz, I gotta stop you. Did you just say that if I'm hearing you correctly, kindergartens are skipping school?
Leaving their classroom, like eloping out of class. They're running out of the building,
I'm
but
just,
like I need a break.
bro, this is interesting because we were saying off camera about the pandemic kindergartens, and you said something that was interesting. I want you to elaborate on what you said, because to me as a social worker, what what is your role when you have the situation that you're going to describe where the kindergarten's mindset is not what you would expect?
Yeah, so like I actually work with a contracted agency with the school district. So it's kind of like blending in like both companies at the same time to try to provide individual and group counseling for the
Mhm.
youngsters. So pretty much what my role is, well, the school pretty much has us like all hands on deck. So it's literally helping when the kids get dropped off by car, like help them open the door and like make sure they come in safely inside the school building. Do lunch duty, we're literally like cleaning tables after they like eat their lunch,
Mhm.
like helping them like get on the bus for dismissal, getting you know, just like basically a little bit of everything. So point
Yeah,
like just lunch duty alone is just like I'm tired.
you're right,
can't
right.
can't wait till 4 o'clock to go home. But and then I do the meme that freaking Tom Hanks running running for dear life. So.
The working for dear life. Describe one of the situations that you had told me offline was some of them kindergartens mindset was they couldn't take a compliment and they just sets them off. Like
Yeah,
what you do in that?
so like I've had instances where kids are like sitting on their desks, like they coloring, like learning the letters, they tracing like how to write their name, like what quote unquote normal kindergartner would be learning in a kindergarten class. Say,
Yeah.
oh, you're doing such a great job, keep up the great work. Just typically like building them up. And sometimes a couple of them just don't know how to take a compliment. It's like, what do you say? Like, well, and then they start like that literally in an instant. They just like, for lack of a better word, they bugging out. So it's just got a couple of kids that they are just do their own thing, and it's just they like I don't know exactly what's going on, but these are 5, 6 year old kids that just need the extra attention, extra support, and unfortunately, many of them, not all of them, but many of them are Black and brown
Yeah.
students. So it's
Yeah.
like, what exactly is going on at home that's like triggering them? And I'm used to like actually doing home visits and like actually trying to dig deeper, like what exactly is going on in the home that maybe might trigger them with school or just in life in general.
Yeah.
So not having that aspect or that unknown is definitely different for me. Not used to that, and not used to the school settings of having certain protocols that I'm not used to, and that I don't always necessarily have been agreeing to. Like, okay, that's it. So the kid just like wild out, like cursing, spitting at us, and like they're gonna come the next day like nothing happened. Like, okay. So it's just been a huge challenge, and I'm always up for a good challenge, but this is like
So
it's crazy.
it sounds like um it sounds like your t-shirt, no one for those who can't see, his t-shirt says the social worker
Social work rants
podcast
podcast.
rants podcast. I see why a social worker will want to rant based on what you just told me from kindergartens. And you would think they were like, I mean, we know they high energy, but the disrespect or whatever that comes with it. Tell me a little bit. What then is the major rant for social worker? What caused you to have this
It's
podcast?
Well, the idea kind of started back in late 2019. I actually have a friend of mine from Staten Island. He does a fathering podcast. So he actually did a whole episode of how to start a podcast. It was
Mm,
just so like simple, broke it down. Like, oh, I'm not very like tech savvy, so I like, oh, I could do this. And I actually have a undergrad degree. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, so I do have
oh,
a
cool.
broadcasting a BA, a Bachelor of Arts, in the communications and in education. So I wanted to do that, but after 9/11, that kind of changed things around and things like that. So when I started learning about podcasts and stuff, and people I know started from wrestling podcasts to different things, like, oh, okay, interesting, and listening to them and figured out how to listen to a podcast because I didn't know how to even do that. So, and then I was listening to Earn Your Leisure podcast,
Yeah.
and they were talking about they did a podcast episode too, and like how to like monetize in podcasts. Is like, oh, you guys can make money like if you get enough listeners and all this other
Yeah.
stuff, and sponsorships and things like that. It's like, oh, okay, like I actually could. So that kind of like really like the wheels started rolling. I was working at the time not only as a school social worker, but I'm also a licensed Zumba instructor. So I actually had just got hired 2019, working at a gym between the Bronx and Queens, and like as a sub, and also we were doing classes for kids, like wellness classes, exercise classes for kids. So I was doing that. and that's as a side hustle, getting extra checks. So I'm always thinking about multiple streams of income.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, so January 2020 came. I had no idea what I wanted to talk about. I hit record on Anchor, said whatever I said, and that was the first episode. It's actually going to be crazy. It's going to be like 2 years in January, and it's like time like literally flew by. So since January 2020, the podcast has been listened to like 37 different countries, over 6,000 listens, total listens, averaging like up to like 300 listens a month. And change is still growing. It's still in its infancy. You would say it's like Bitcoin. It's still a toddler. So
It's still
get it get
growing.
it
Yeah.
get it while it's hot. So
Yeah. It's not.
this is actually one of my sweatshirts that you could get online on my Teespring account. I also got a hoodie as well, and also regular T-shirts. So unisex, so any male, female could cop the merchandise. So I also got electrifying social worker masks, because since we still in a pandemic, like wear a mask. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just different
Yes.
things like that. So I literally had I call this COVID era the era of shooting your shot.
Okay.
So literally, I was like DMing people, coming up with ideas for the podcast. What the hell do I even talk about?
Right.
So literally, the pandemic happened. Pandemic, perfect. Okay, let's provide social workers with resources, mainly in New York. Because
Okay.
I was still based in New York, even though like people like California was listening to it, a couple of people like Texas was listening to it. So okay, here's some resources that I like looked up online to help clients. I
Yeah.
was working with the elderly in Harlem in New York, and literally pandemic was like um, literally like killing people, killing our clients like left and right. Like
Right.
at like 8:30 in the morning, we have our meeting, and we find out somebody passed away. Then it was
Ugh,
like lunchtime, somebody passed away. Then later on in the day, somebody passed away. So it was
yeah.
like so working with what we call a buzzword in social work of vicarious trauma, and literally working. And then like you got like my own clients on my caseload, like had like a few people like started passing away as well, and it was like or getting hospitalized, being sent to the nursing homes. And for those people who don't know Andrew Cuomo,
Yeah.
the governor at the time,
I think everybody knows
his
who he is.
and did the whole policy of sending patients to the nursing homes, they got COVID. So like we already got people in the nursing homes without COVID. Now you got people coming in with COVID, and then they spreading it, and so it was just an unfortunate situation though with that. So we trying to do discharge planning. Like, are they coming out? Like,
Mm-hmm.
or are they coming back home? Like, what does that look like? They have home health aides that or refusing, like, I'm not going to work with this person. The person got COVID. So it's
Yeah.
like, what do we do? Like, we want to send them back home, but that they don't have services we need. And we talk about like clients 55 years and older. So my oldest client I had at the time was like 102. So it was
Wow.
just, a gamut of ages. We got dementia clients, Alzheimer's clients, people with Parkinson's, on top of high blood pressure issues. We got mental illness on top of their like high blood pressure
Yeah.
and heart disease problems, kidney issues, like you name it. The gamut was filled with these medical diagnoses on top of try to make sure their Medicaid is straight, their housing is straight, like their food stamps is straight. So it was just a lot going on. And then on top of that, in April, my mom
Mm.
got sick. I was actually like working from home, and then all of a sudden I hear her like she's like coughing, like
Okay.
choking on some Gatorade. I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, and she got red like in seconds. Like
Wow.
I'm wearing like red shorts, and it's like got redder than like my red shorts. So like I'm calling
Wow.
911. And then like, okay, she came like, and like, who knows? Because New York was like the epicenter of COVID at the time. This is like April 2020.
Yeah.
So like, I literally like saying my goodbyes, like, cause I don't know if I'm going to see her
Mm,
again.
mm,
And it's like, my mom was like looking like days, like didn't know what's going on. She couldn't really speak. Didn't know what was going on. She just got literally taken like in the chair, that like wheelchair, being like taken to the ambulance.
yeah.
So she spent like all of April in the hospital. She actually got discharged a week later, and just like completely like uh, just not coherent at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like had like huge altered mental status. And it was like they literally got discharged. They discharged her like that, and which blew my mind. And then so literally had to like call 911 literally the next day, like hours later, to have her send her back. Goes to Gets discharged to a nursing home,
Mm,
because I was like caring for her um, at home. She actually was in a nursing home like the summer of 2019, got discharged like right before the lockdown happens, like the beginning of March 2020. And then pandemic happens. So I'm literally that first month in March caring for her at home, literally like sponge bathing her, changing diapers,
mm-hmm.
like how we do for babies. That's what I was doing for my mom. So
Yeah.
and then it goes back to the hospital, and then sent to nursing home, and literally a couple of days later, like May 3rd, 2020, she passes away. I So I get the call. I get a call at 5 o'clock in the morning that Sunday, and she passes away. So it was like,
Mm,
it's just been like crazy. So I'm still here, still standing. Like,
yeah.
and it was hard. Just I didn't even sleep that whole. I didn't go to sleep until like maybe like 12:30, 1 o'clock the following day. Just like couldn't sleep. I tried to take a nap, couldn't nap. Let my kids know. Like, I got two kids. I got a 12-year old and a 9 son and a 9-year-old daughter. And it's like letting them know like what happened to their grandmother, who been all living together. So it's like
Yeah.
it was just a crazy, crazy time. Actually, luckily for me, my beautiful, talented fiance worked at the time as a teacher assistant at a preschool. So they went virtual. So I had the conversation with her. I was like, okay, because I still had to go to the office. Like, okay, you be the full time parent. I come see you and the kids on the weekends. Once I like have like my mom straight, and then like have like my dad like kind of
Yeah.
take over until I get back like on a Sunday. So that's how we did it. So if it wasn't for her and like her profession, like I probably would have had to like take like FMLA from work, because work
Yeah.
wasn't being lenient with the time that I had needed. So like these are my options: either like you like take all your sick days, take your vacation days, and then try to care for your mom, or you go to FMLA route. So I didn't want to do that, because at the time, like I had just started investing in stocks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like
That was crazy.
learning about stocks.
Look, yeah,
Um,
that I mean that's crazy. I mean, I'm hearing this and I'm like, how did this man overcome these situations? Like, I mean, your mom, there's COVID, there's like what mechanisms did you use to get you? I know you said your fiance helped with like the parenting, but like how did you overcome like some of the mental trauma that would have come from something like that?
so since I'm going back to being a Zumba instructor, so Zumba did a whole beautiful pivot in terms of having instructors teaching their classes virtually. So they did a whole virtual platform. Obviously, because the gyms were like shutting down, nationwide, and then obviously like worldwide. So whoever was a Zumba instructor anywhere in this world was able to provide Zumba classes virtually. So I started doing like some classes, even on the tight space in my bedroom. My bedroom literally became like my Zumba workout studio, my
Yeah.
office, like because I was still trying to protect not only myself but protect, my mom. Then like, my dad has is autoimmune
Yeah.
deficiency, so it was like I'm only going to walk into the kitchen, walk back, and like close the door. I have my mask on in the house, and like I'm trying to keep myself safe, keep
Mm-hmm.
my dad safe, and just do what I need to do. So I was like literally like stayed in my bedroom like the whole time, and like, okay, 5 o'clock is over. Like there's a Zumba class start at 6. Do that. My outlet, from social work was the gym, like, lifting weights and like
Yeah.
the boss pissed me off today, like
You hit it. You just
so
go
it's like
at it. Yeah.
and go at it at the gym. So when the gym closed, like that, doing a Zumba class here and there, try to kind of stay in shape a little bit. And then out of nowhere, like I was one day sitting on the couch watching TV, and then these words started popping in my head. Like ran, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, put words on the paper, and then like, okay, it rhymes. Okay, then the next couple lines, okay, this rhymes. Like whatever popped in my head was like flowing from my mind to my hand and started writing. It ended up as like a poem, and
What?
then like, and
Yeah.
that was
Keep going.
this also at the same time. The murder of Breonna Taylor
Mm-hmm.
happened at the same time. Then a couple of months later, George Floyd got killed. So this is all happening at the same time. So obviously that messed me up as well. Seeing the George Floyd videos, like, and what killed me even more from the video was months later, we, at work, we did a whole thing like to like, anti-racism type of thing at work, whatever. So, but I did it virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we literally, in honor to show respect, we actually did like the kneel down, like taking a knee for the whole
Mm-hmm.
time he was killed, as a show of support.
Mm-hmm.
And like I have a history of bad knees, I have tendonitis as a teenager, preteen. So to actually do that for 8 minutes and 41 seconds or whatever time that he got killed was powerful.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
Um,
things. Yeah, a lot of
so
levels.
all that, still I didn't allow myself to really grieve because I still had to work. The clients were still passing away to a point by the time I resigned, or like by the time like September hit, was like 30 clients that I know that passed away from
Mm-hmm.
COVID. And then on
Mm.
top of my mom, then I had a couple other clients pass away from natural causes, not COVID related. So um, then every once in a while, like these words started flowing in my mind again. Just take a piece of paper, had another poem.
Wow.
Then I had like another poem. So like going back to the multiple streams of income, be like, why don't I like release a book?
Mm-hmm.
So with the past year and change now, like off and on, like I'll write. I went for a stretch that has like some writer's block. I was like, like nothing was happening, like nothing. Like
Yeah.
so, and then all of a sudden, like something happened like at the job that I had in January this year. I worked up to June and went through some BS with the job. That's what, like, all right, I wrote about that. We talked offline of like a little bit of like who really taught me about, wealth and wellness and about money. And it's
Yeah.
like my parents really didn't have that as education for me. There was like old school is like, okay, put your money in the bank, and like
Okay.
save your money.
Yeah.
So the best advice my mom gave me, at least in terms of wealth or finances, anything like that, was when I had a conversation with her back in like late 2019. Was if you're gonna buy a house, because we had a conversation about, okay, I want to buy a house in 2020, and I want you to live with me. I'm tired of you in the Bronx. Like you're in this nursing home. When you get discharged, set you up. And we're gonna get this house in Delaware, and you come live with me. So that if you're
Mm,
gonna get a house, it needs to be a multifamily, at least
wow.
somebody upstairs. However it's gonna work, at least a two level house, and that way your tenant is gonna pay for your mortgage, and you're good.
Yeah.
I was like, but me living in the Bronx with noisy neighbors, got a noisy neighbor upstairs, a noisy neighbor downstairs, a noisy neighbor in the next building. You can hear their music blasting. It's like, no, I don't want to deal with that. So I want, if any noise going to be in the house, it's going to be me, the kids, my fiance, and maybe my parents at the time. That's it.
Right.
So I actually closed on a townhome in February this year, 2021. And it happened like really fast. Like,
Wow. So wait, what? So your mom gave you the advice to do the multifamily,
yes,
but you didn't go to the multifamily, but you just purchased but you did purchase real estate.
purchase. Yes, I did
Gotcha,
purchase.
gotcha. So
My first time home buyer.
first time home buyer. That's awesome. I'm gonna clap it up for that, being a first time home buyer in the midst of the pandemic.
Yes,
And
thank you.
um I wanted to say though, it sounded like when you were talking about your story regarding through the pandemic, you overcame it through your poetry and your podcast, it sounded like. Is that accurate?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I was still recording podcast episodes. I think initially I was doing them weekly. I think I kind of fell off a little bit and started doing a bi-weekly.
Mhm.
So I was like, what can I do to really, pandemics happening? I did a couple episodes for resources. I was dealing with issues with my mom, so anybody could relate to taking care, being a caregiver, and taking care of an elderly
Yeah.
person. So I did that, and then my mom passed away, so I kind of used my podcast as like my release of like grief and stuff. So I did a whole podcast episode, like very raw. You could check it out, season one, of like everything that led up to what, from her being in a nursing home to like being discharged,
Yeah.
coming home, taking care of her, to like going to the hospital until she passed away.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then like, okay, everybody's home. We in a pandemic. Everybody's home. How can I like maximize, a networking opportunity? What can I do with the podcast?
Yeah.
So I started reaching out, to different social workers. I started reaching out to different influencers, whatever, like DMs. Started going on LinkedIn real hard. I had a LinkedIn account, and LinkedIn was one of those things like you got it, but you don't use it. I started, I
That's
started
true.
using it like
That's
crazy,
true.
and like sending messages, private messages to different people, social workers, and I want to connect. Thank you for connecting. Blah, blah. Send a message out. Hey, I'm actually like a social worker. I host this podcast called Social Worker Podcast. I actually came up with a whole stick. Came up like to start on the whim, like, oh, this actually sounds and looks kind of like professional a little bit. So like, and then doing that, sending email. If I had an email, sending out emails, DMs on Instagram. I actually had Ash Cash on the podcast. Ash Cash is amazing, a financial expert, best-selling author.
Yeah.
He actually blessed me with an episode in season one. Actually, when people started getting the checks, the stimulus checks, the first ones, like, how can social workers use their money? Should they use it to pay off their student loans? Because remember, March
Mm-hmm.
and April
Mm-hmm.
2020, the government decided not to charge us interest. So, okay, should we pay it, our stimulus checks, pay it towards principal, and it'll be like towards the principal, or use it for something else? So we did a whole episode about that.
Go check it out,
So
people,
then,
if you want to know that
yes, go
answer.
check it out, season one. Yes, yes. So then, like, the my guest that I had, Tim Ryan, we talked in back season one. He does all these talks regarding substance abuse, and that he called it the pandemic within the pandemic of opioid addiction was really big out. Then the pandemic happened, and people are still having issues with substance abuse, and that's a major thing for my heart because
Yeah.
I've actually had a loved one who passed away because of substance abuse. Um, so I'm dealing with that and like having a conversation of his recovery and how he's helping people and how the pandemic they need 12 steps. They need,
Yeah.
they need programs and everything's online and people are struggling to find we can't do 12 steps on Zoom. We need to be in person, face to face. How, like, what do we do? And so he does talks throughout the country, him and his wife. But we had a whole episode about that. Like, what do we do to help people, stay
Yeah.
sober in a recovery during the pandemic?
Yeah. It was a
And like,
resource. It was a resource.
yeah, so it was a resource, exactly.
Wow.
So coming up with resources. So then I had another idea that like started flowing. It's like, okay, connect with other social workers, like actually like showcase them on my podcast. Like, what do you do like in social work? We're not just removing kids from their home, putting them in foster care. We do way
Change
we
your
do way more than
perspective.
that.
Right.
We do way more than that. Like, I'm a school social worker. Like, I do individual group counseling and all this stuff. Whatever the school wants me to do, I kind of like doing it without trying not to kill myself
Yeah.
in the process of doing it. So like I like had like reached out to people in Cali, I had people in Texas, like in New York, like that had like some a social worker or mental professional out in London, like using LinkedIn and just like connecting. And then so I was back to like weekly episodes. I was like literally interviewing people on my bed in pandemic at home, and it's like or sitting on the floor while like my headphones on,
This
sticking it in my phone and
this
like
guy.
recording on Anchor. Just like this is flowing.
Bass, you are astonishing me the more and more I'm listening to you. Y'all gotta just imagine this though. Bass is in New York, the height of the epicenter of a pandemic. He's dealing with COVID. He's a social worker. That's a lot of trauma in itself, on top of the
Yes.
pandemic. But in the same token, on the same side, you release, you up your game on the podcast, you start writing poems and I think you said you purchased a home too. And I know I'm gonna just lead into this. You got a book coming out too, right?
Book, yeah. So I'm working on the book. The book is actually finally finished writing. As just a matter of like writing, like the back of the book was book about and all this stuff, the inside of the cover, and try to get all that pieces together. Try to
What's
get some headshots in and
what's the name of
all
the
these
book?
final pieces. It's called Triumph Through Pain: How to Maximize Your Full Potential During Down Times.
If I mean, that's basically what you've been telling me.
Yes.
That's basically what you've been telling us right now. It's like, guys, you guys have to understand this person has I think the best way to describe it is what you said it. COVID is an era of take your shot.
Yes.
And I feel like you're like Michael Jordan in game 6 of his last championship. You're having the follow through hand just hanging there like, yes, I'm still taking my shot. Wow. Okay. So with
And I purchased a car too.
oh yeah, and you just throw all of this. How are you able to do all that as a social worker? I mean, financially, buy a home, buy a car in the same year.
I was like literally saving just every month, just saving like uh, um my full transparency, my parents wasn't charging me rent, so like yes, I will help out with the rent
Mhm.
or pay for the cable bill, like the light bill, like obviously buy food and things like that. So like whatever I was saving, like just like years, this is going back like 2014 when my wife and I separated. When I moved back home from Jersey, I was living in Jersey 9 years. Moved back home with my 2 kids, and then okay, that's where I was able to like start saving some money and just keep saving it, put it in the bank, and just let it rock. And then learning about Ally and all these other
Mm-hmm.
banks that have higher interest rates, and like switching my money over to that, and then just every few years I would like change a job and like make a little bit more money, so I was able to like okay, in a way like getting a raise or not really getting a raise because I was getting a new job making a little bit more money. So
Mm,
I was able to do that and like, okay, whatever that money extra coming in, just like say, saving that, put it in the bank. And then when it came, and then also in full transparency as well, when my ex-wife passed away in 2016. So this is actually people don't really know about this and people don't talk about this too much. If you have kids
hmm
and one of the parents, whether it be baby mama, wife, husband, whatever,
hmm
your partner passes away, your kids are entitled to social security benefits.
Mm. Speak on that. Elaborate.
So I actually learned that from a friend of mine who like her husband passed away. So we have honest conversations. And it's like, oh, I get money for my daughter after like my husband passed away. I was like, oh, you tell me about that. So when my ex-wife passed away, like I already knew, like I was on it, like literally like 2 days later or whenever I got the death certificate, I was already calling Social Security, or even I think I went there in person. And it was like, there's a death certificate. Like, I have two kids. Like, here's their birth certificates, their
Yeah.
Social Security cards. Like, I already knew like what to bring, and was in the office like all day. And then they gave me like retro money for them, and then like literally I get a check every month. So like they had their money. Okay, my daughter was 4 at the time, and my son was 7.
hmm
So literally until the age of 18, or now whenever Social Security runs out, whichever one comes first, they get a check every month. So that's part of their college money, and then also I was using their funds to whatever I needed to do.
Yeah.
So like that was actually was my reserves as well.
Mm,
When you need reserves, so when you want to purchase a house, so like
that makes
this is
sense.
my reserves
Yeah.
from my 9 to 5, plus these are my reserves for them. So like okay, and then having good credit is essential.
Yeah.
Like when I got separated, that's one of the first things I did was work on my credit. I think it was at the lowest, maybe 555, 560,
Yeah, that's low.
and it's like I just worked way up. Like things started falling off eventually off my credit report, and then I would start seeing increases. Using Credit Karma, definitely like helped out, and just learning as I was going,
hmm
figure things out to a point where like my credit was like immaculate. It was like, all right, like literally we started looking at houses November um last year, like a year ago, we started looking at houses. Like, okay, it was the house we saw, and it was like we made an offer. And then like literally 2 days before Christmas last year, we got the offer was accepted, and then
Mm,
February was the close. So it literally happens that quick because the market was on
it's
fire.
hot. It's hot. And so I guess the same thing, you use your reserves to purchase a car as well as to finance that, I
Yeah,
guess.
so the car was something I was like learning as I was going,
hmm
because I was trying to initially. Well, on top of that, I got backtrack a little bit. In October 2020, I started my LLC. Bass City Entertainment is a online, for now, is an online virtual
Another.
self care company. My poetry book will be like the first thing coming out of from my business, on top of eventually getting back to doing virtual Zumba classes. That's down the pike.
hmm
Um, so like basically like did that, got my LLC, and I wanted to initially put the car under the business, even if I had to like personally guarantor the car,
Ooh.
was to do that.
Oh, so you put the car in the
Um,
business.
I had wanted to for some, like I didn't know like the whole trick of the trade
Yeah.
to that. So like the dealership didn't really like explain all that, and I didn't really learn that trick yet
Okay.
all the way. So I did it under my personal name, no money down, like literally like check my credit, like approved.
There you go.
Here's the keys. There you go. So actually it took most of this year, but I finally was able to transfer the car and is now under Bass City Entertainment LLC,
Wow.
my car.
Why is that
So
important?
well basically um no, you could depreciate, your vehicle for taxes the following year, or depending on the full price of the vehicle or the mileage, whatever's more, and you could depreciate the car. You could get the whole price, total price of the car in one shot, or you could do like installments for the next, I don't know
Right.
how many years, at least maybe 2 to 3 years afterwards
Right.
to the total price of the car. So if you say, for example, your car was like 20,000, you could get most of that money back in your taxes in one shot for 1 year, or you could break up 20,000 in like
Right.
installments, like every couple of years after that, whichever however you want to do it.
So I mean,
That's something I learned. I learned this like this year, 2021. I want people to like understand that,
no.
and I'm still learning as I'm going. Like whatever I learned, I've been trying to put like apply it and put it in
But you
practice.
have you have a mentality though that I want to explore a little bit. Like who how did you get this mentality instilled in you? Like who taught you these things? Or this who put this
It just
mentality?
some it's just something like I learned with experience.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was married 9 years and did like a lot of financial like mistakes with money, and like my ex-wife, God rest her soul, like she wasn't good with the
Mm-hmm.
financial piece at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Yeah.
So like credit cards and things like that, and like yeah, so I was paying them to a point where like I had gotten like laid off 2014, so it was like having two kids, not one kid but two kids, and then like my money was like I was in the red for a lot of times, and then like something else was going on. Like I don't want to like elaborate that on that part for the sense of my kids, but there
Yeah.
was some other stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
that was preventing like me from like being still being in the red. So um just money mistakes like that. Like my dad wasn't really good with like money. He'll like, I need to buy a car. Like, why? So it's like I need it for work. Like, and then just like impulse,
Buying.
buying.
Yeah.
It wasn't like all the time, but like there's stuff that could have been like done like better with money. Like it
Yeah.
just didn't happen. My mom was more of a saver, like like pay her bills and then was like put some money aside in the bank.
So do you,
Obviously now 2021, like that you can't really put your money in the bank, not getting anything out of it. So
do you budget? Do you have like a spending
that
plan?
I'm still struggling with,
Okay.
honestly, with budget. Like I don't have a budget. With the pandemic has helped me to like when going anywhere. Where we go where we going.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally, like obviously, the whole point of self care, right? Before pandemic happened, just like I want to go to a concert, go to a concert, have a date night with my fiance, or go to a baseball game with the family, going to a baseball game here and there. It wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
like splurging or anything. Like I went on like a real vacation for like the first time in like years in 2019. Went to Toronto for like 2 weeks, like a week
Mm-hmm.
and a half, 2 weeks, and that was like literally like my first vacation since like 2007. So like, um, so I wasn't like never really had like a budget. Like just like okay, these are the mistakes. Like okay,
Yeah.
I move back home. Like okay, I'm able to save a couple bucks here and there. Like what keep saving. Like my end goal was always eventually to move out. Like you either like for myself and my kids, like we moving out somewhere. Like my parents, like you coming or you not. So
Right.
like I got like I had this thought, 2014, 2015, of like maybe possibility of moving back to Jersey. Like I said before, I was living there for 9 years. Maybe move back to Jersey, or upstate, like the market, like Orange County in New York was becoming like a hot market, and it still is a hot market. Like
Yeah.
the thing, just like, okay, like the Bronx was not like I love the Bronx, BX forever,
BS forever.
but my end goal, like, always had a goal in mind. Okay, like I needed, like, to move. How can I get there?
Mm-hmm.
What's the process? That obviously, life happens, life throws curveballs, and then like 2019 was like, okay, 2020, this is the year, no matter what. This has happened. Then of course pandemic happens, and to a point where, like, my fiance and I had conversations about, do we want to push this back a year, because who knows what the housing market is gonna look like.
Yeah.
What are we doing? We still gonna move? So like her brother was gracious enough to offer, his home, to us, and he had a conversation with us like July 4th weekend 2020. We went down, even though we weren't supposed to travel. But we left New York, go to Delaware to travel.
Right.
Stayed in this house, and it was like, hey, you can stay here until you find a crib. So she actually went ahead, took the kids while I still stayed in New York, and then go on Amtrak. Amtrak became my best friend,
Mm-hmm.
and going to New York to Delaware on Amtrak, and spending the weekends with the kids, and then Sunday take Amtrak back home, and then Monday morning, like, go to work like nothing happened.
Yeah. I like this. I like this because it's like you I hear discipline, like you had a goal, a long-term goal, and you just knew that you're going to keep putting some money over there until the opportunity came, and you kind of created the opportunity because you were preparing yourself.
Yeah,
And I love it. I love it. So with this whole mentality of overcoming and being more of a financial steward, I guess, like, has some of this rubbed off with your kids?
I'm trying, and it's like, it's hard. Like, I try to, my son, he's going to be 13 in a couple months, and I try to have frank conversations with him. Like, do you understand that I even literally a couple of days ago or yesterday, I had this conversation with him.
Mhm.
I'm like, do you understand that you are in a much better place in your life that I ever was at your age?
Yeah, yeah.
When I was 13, the internet was like barely just born, if even, and not even, because it really didn't get popping, at least from my experience, till like 1996, 97.
Hmm.
And even then, like, the only way for me to get access to the internet was if I went to the library. That's it.
Hmm.
No computer in my house, like, nothing, no, like, AIM. Like, I didn't do any of that stuff at that time. So
Hmm.
it wasn't until when I got to college and undergrad in 97 that, like I remember I had like a whole page of like websites I wanted to look up just to see how the websites look, like something simple as like the New York Giants website, and like things like that, like WWF at the time, like
Yeah,
just checking out website. And I would spend literally like hours, oh snap, like
yeah,
just going on different websites and stuff. So it's like, um so like, you have the internet, you got YouTube, you got all this stuff, and like I'm learning as I'm going to help your future out. Like,
yeah,
you already have more money than I ever had at your age. Like, you want to use it for school, for college, or you going to get a bust your behind and get an academic scholarship, or if you want to play a sport, like, you good at soccer, you pretty good at basketball, like,
yeah,
practice and do that and get an academic scholarship that way, or whatever. That way, if you do get a scholarship and it's a full ride somewhere, like preferably in an in-state school here in Delaware, that, okay, now you got all this money that if you want to purchase property, we got crypto currently, NFTs, who knows how's that gonna go by the time he's 18, and like you have all this resources, but he's like, no, I don't want to. I even had a conversation with him. I was like, do you or your kids talk about crypto, talk about NFTs? I'm like, no. So what do you guys talk about? Like, it's like even like your favorite rappers are talking about it. Why are you guys not talking about it?
Great. I mean, yeah, like I'm astonished right now a little bit too with like he's 13, right?
He's gonna be 13.
Yeah.
Is he
He's
gonna be 13? Yeah, I think
hey 12,
13.
13. Hey,
Sorry, 13.
I know, right? She's 12, 13.
I lost count.
But you're having what I like about what you're saying is, I hope people don't miss this, is that you're being intentional about having money conversations with him.
Yeah.
And not only just like, oh, how you handle money, but like what's it for? And you're talking about long-term things and how he has to start planning for like the whole thing about like, hey, you're gonna have this money, you're gonna have to either work your butt off to get in college, or you're gonna get some scholarships, whichever one. At 12 or 13 years old, to me, those conversations typically don't happen until someone's 18 when they're about to go
Yeah.
go into college.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to clap it up for you for like just being intentional and having that conversation early, and I would assume often.
Yeah, I tried to. I mean, going back to like the Earn Your Leisure podcast, like every Monday, like 8 o'clock, leave me alone. I'm watching Market Mondays. So I've learned so much from like that show. And I try to put it into practice.
Yeah.
He's even seen me like talking to the host of the show, like my son has,
Mhm.
like talking. I participated on the show a couple of times. It was like, seeing me like in action, trying to put stuff in practice. Like my daughter is like, why do you like reading a book about finances and things like that? Because I'm like want to help you for your future. And then like even like the other day, like I learned about UGMA accounts.
Mhm.
So going back to their benefits
Mhm.
that they got after their mom passed.
Yeah.
When I learned about the UGMA, I put it in practice.
Well, wait.
So there,
Wait, you gotta break that down for the people. I know what you're talking about. Break it down for the people.
is a UGMA
UMA.
UMA, and then there's the T one, the TA, right?
I think
It's something
so.
like that. It was two of them.
Yeah, but go ahead.
And so basically it's an account that just like any adult could go like TD Ameritrade or any Charles Schwab and just open up a brokerage account
Mhm.
for them, for yourself, and then you could actually do it for your kids as well. So I literally started taking their money. I hope Social Security don't don't see this, but like using their money to put it in their accounts. So my kids, my 12, 13-year-old son and my 9-year-old daughter have shares in Apple and Microsoft. They each got a share, and my fault for not purchasing more shares of Tesla, but they each got a share in Tesla.
Okay.
Thank you, Tesla, for running up to like 1,200.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So things like that, like ETF funds, things like that, and then I literally had a conversation. Like I went on their account, like and like, so guess how much y'all made so far? And I told them the amount. It was like, whoa, that's cool. And it's like, but they haven't fully gotten it. Like,
Yeah.
I want them to put two and two together. It's like,
Bro,
I didn't do anything to make the money.
Yeah.
Like, how do I get this money?
Yeah. It'll
So,
keep having a
yeah.
conversation. I think it's gonna come through. Like it's gonna come through. It's gonna hit them. Like, our parents just say, eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Eventually, when we get older, like, oh yeah, I see why I need to eat my vegetables. And I think this is really good. And since it's like so are you having planned conversations, or are these like spontaneous conversations about money with your kids?
No, these are pretty spontaneous
Okay.
Conversations. So just having like like I want them to understand like they're at a good place in life. Like
Mhm.
yes, we went through a lot of stuff like from their mom passing at a young age. Yes, their grandmother who they live with like passed away. Yes, you're missing your friends like that. You especially my son had a tough time missing his friends from the Bronx. That he actually had like a crew of friends that they like were together from like first grade to fifth grade, and they graduate, and then like a lot of them, some of them might still be in the Bronx, and then we out here in Delaware, so he's got to make new friends all over again from the jump. Go through a whole virtual year of school, like being in the house on Zoom, doing class time on
Yeah.
Zoom, and now trying to make new friends like in person, going to class. So you went through a lot, and just keep fighting, keep pushing. Like I'm trying the best as I can as a parent to like and something happened to me. I even did a living will, like, because I didn't know if COVID was going to take me out, and just try to
Mm.
leave stuff for them last year in 2020 as well. So like leave that, and then my next step is to, now that I got a house, to like do a trust. That way, since I got the business and then with the house, and put all that together in a trust. I wanted to do that this year, but that's going to be an early 2022 goal. And just in case something does happen, okay, here's the life insurance money. Like,
Yeah.
do something productive for this. Like, go watch Earn Your Leisure. Go watch like all their episodes, and like you always on YouTube instead of playing Roblox. Do that. Like,
Yeah.
and
So
I was teaching my fiance, try to put her on some on her on some game as well, and so you need to help me, like gotta help yourself
yeah.
too. Like I do what I can, but like
Right, right,
I
right.
can't do
All
everything.
right. I can't do everything. I can't open your head up and put a book in there. Um, so man, I love what you're doing and I applaud you for it. One final question before I give this final question. For UMA people, the what it means is Unified Managed Account. I just looked it back up because I knew what it was, but I just had to remember. So Unified Managed Account is a privately managed investment account. So yeah, he used that to his advantage. He got some game and then he applied it, and he's exposing his children to it, which leads me to the question of what does legacy mean to you?
Well, that's also like going back to the podcast is like, yes, I do curse on the podcast from time to time,
Mhm.
uh here and there, but like leaving a legacy, like you go on the podcast, you'll hear my voice till the end of time.
Mm.
You miss me, put on the podcast and you can hear my voice. You could, whenever my book drops, I'm hoping for the end of this year, but like I've been like a little slacking. I'm trying to get it together for hopefully if not this year, definitely beginning of 2022. I'm trying my best for this year. It's just been a crazy time. So when my book is released, you have my words of what I went through, like in my mind, and putting it out there on paper and like for the world to see. And you could see my words, and like my name is on the cover, like I wrote a book.
Hmm.
Like that's forever.
Yeah.
You want to read my words, you want to hear me. um it's compared to like when their mom passed, and it was like yes, you got a might have some memories.
Hmm.
That's priceless. The memories are priceless. My daughter was too young when she passed, so like I'm telling no stories. Like, but those when I pass, those stories, whenever that time is, that's gonna end. So, they got a comforter. They got like Winnie the Pooh. My ex-wife was obsessed with Winnie the Pooh, so there's like Winnie the Pooh dolls and Winnie the Pooh blankets and things
Hmm.
like those, that type of stuff. But you know, but in terms of like no land, no money, no insurance. Well, I did have life insurance, so I used that also helped put that money away, and that helped save that money up. That contributed to like saving up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish the life insurance game that I learned in the past year and a half, I wish I knew that game back then.
It'll be another podcast.
Yes, but for your listeners, get life insurance. Stop using GoFundMe pages, things of that nature, especially not Black and brown folks. And this is no disrespect, but you need life insurance. Get term life insurance. Start young. If you have a baby, put life insurance on the baby. Like you save so much money. It's like pennies to a dollar, depending on who you get. Just do it. Even like, especially with the pandemic, like I try to switch my life insurance, and there was like they'll like deny you because you're overweight. They'll deny you if you a lot of people like gain COVID weight. So,
Yeah.
if you have high blood pressure, people would deny you just because for high blood pressure. You have nothing else. You healthy as can be. Besides, they're denying people that this is all COVID related, and
Mm-hmm.
I haven't
Yeah.
done much research afterwards. I'm actually want to have somebody who does life insurance on my podcast to discuss that. Only because for social workers, life insurance, is important. Just for anybody is important, but they use when you get the benefits like, oh, we have this group life insurance and there's some other life insurance if you want to pay into it, whatever. But the group life insurance, you can't take that
No.
when you leave your job.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if something happens to you, like you're gonna be out if you don't have like your own life insurance on the side.
Right.
So,
You gotta do it. So when you hearing your story, and that's good advice, get life insurance, people, like for real. Just I love what you said. We gotta stop the
especially now when it was COVID, like we got NBA players like who's like fit or using pumps and stuff like just to breathe sometimes. And like it really was scary, like seeing people on the news. They're like way better shape. I am was like literally like dying because of COVID. I was like, oh snap, like this
is serious.
It's real serious.
Yeah. So in your story, let's put an arc to it. Someone hearing your story, what do you want them to walk away with as your last words as we close out?
There's still so much opportunity. There's so much to learn. Obviously, you gotta have the right mindset for it. Like, yes, like it's okay to not be okay mentally, emotionally. Find an outlet somewhere. Like, just take walks if you can. Like, I used to like write in journal write when I was younger. Like I did that in school. And then like as an adult, like in my 20s, I started doing that again. So like writing, obviously I got a book coming out, start write poetry. Find whatever works for you as an outlet. No gyms, the countries are opening back up again. Like, you want to go back to the gym and do that. There's different outlets. There's so much to learn, use like the internet, and like we got everybody wants to talk about crypto, there's NFTs, and there's this, there's that. There's always like the next thing, and like use that to your advantage and learn stuff. Like people's always on their phone, people's like always online. Like just instead of like BSing, like learn something. Like now we at a place in our lives that we could like work from home and make actual halfway decent living, and actually make a good living if you want to, depending on certifications and things like that. Like learn some IT stuff here and there. Like I always tell my kids, like learn a little bit about everything as much as you can. I always try to pick that up wherever I was at. Like when I was younger in my 20s, I used to like work in a mosque, helping with security. So like, which helped me land a social work job because The
Mm,
social work job was like literally down the street from the mosque I used to work at. So I already knew the area and kind of knew who lives in the area and like land a job because, hey, I know this area. Like I take the train. This is where I got to go. This is like who lives in the area. Like I shop in the area. So it's like, different things like that. You just never know where like life is going to take you.
yeah.
Yeah, you might struggle. Right now it's okay to struggle, but always like find something just for me to pick yourself up like somehow some way. There's just so much, and I think people, especially us black and brown people, just find woke up 2020 like really like something simple as like learning about stocks and real estate and things of that nature, and to a point like it doesn't even matter really who is the president of the United States. Like things are going to happen no matter who's in office, and just like mm, working to your advantage. Like college is not definitely not like a guaranteed thing anymore. Probably never really was a guaranteed thing, but people really like, well, I'm gonna waste all this money and then I'm not gonna be working at or what I'm studying. So like or be in the field that I study for 4 years, 4 or 5 years. So it does have college does have its advantages. Definitely like I had a good experience, undergrad, and like I had a radio show in undergrad. Like I like did different things and participated in different things, going to basketball games, things like that, and people I still connect with in undergrad. So, but times have changed. We're in 2021, 2022, and by the time my kids are 18, who knows like what exactly is going to happen? Like,
Hmm.
um, Bitcoin will probably be around. Who knows what the next? There's always the next thing. So it's like, why don't you just like learn what that is and just figure things out as you go, just one day at a time. That's all you can really do. Like just like live the best you can, just one day at a time.
I love it. I love it. It's like make the most of what you got right now, and you never know what's going to take you. That's what I hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I would have never thought like 2014 when I got separated, like 2015 when my divorce was finalized, that years later, like in less than 10 years, I'll be like a homeowner in a new state. And never thought I'd be living in Delaware. Never. Like, and it wasn't until I started dating my now fiance that she had family down here, and we come here for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. So it was like, oh snap, these houses are beautiful. And you said the school system is good too. Okay, I could kind of see myself living here. And then I go back home. I was like, I'm not feeling this anymore. Like I had like friends I grew up with that refused to go back home, seeing their parents. It's like I don't want like that's not my life anymore. Like if my parents want to stay there, like that's on them. But like I want better for myself. So I kind of like those little seeds, like kind of like was implanted, and then like just obviously life experience happened, and just you grow from experience, or like hopefully, and you learn from it. And like I'm still learning. I'm not nowhere close to where I want to be at. And like I got my podcast, and I got trying to get this Bad City Entertainment thing popping with the book, and then through the Zumba, and who knows what 2022 is going to bring. I kind of like look. I was like 2021, like what you got? I hope it's better 2022. I'm like the same way. What you got 2022? Like I'm like leery, like
Yeah.
stepping in 2022.
Yeah. But just like, but look, I'm want to, hey, what you got for me? I'm ready. Come on, let's go. I love it. I love it. Bass, you have been an amazing guest. You have wonderful stories and gems pull out from each one of them. I hope the listeners go back and listen to and kind of take that in, because you dropped some knowledge, and I'm super happy that you were on the show with us. Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank you.
joining.
Pleasure being on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again, hopefully. So as we close out the show today, We have this motto: it doesn't matter what you make, but what you do, what you make. And if you do that, you can change your mind, change your wallet, change your life. We had an excellent guest that exemplified that. So till next time, listen and subscribe, and go follow my man Bass, the Social Work Rants podcast, and also subscribe to his. Till next time, peace.